Hey, it's Dan from Tupelo, honey, and you're at U Popularity.
What are the key challenges that the band faces during the creative process?
It's been kind of like this last album was a little different than the other ones because, I mean, usually we'd break into small groups of two or three and sort of somebody would have an idea and we'd kind of hatch it out a little bit, like basing it around the lyrics and like the vocal hook and a main melody. But this time we were started experimenting a little bit with like starting with a riff or like trying to build off like sort of a vibe of a song that we were going for. So I think like the main hurdle this time was more or less deciding the direction that we wanted the album to go in. But we ended up sort of deciding to go with not just one sort of theme. Like we kind of stuck to what we do, and that's sort of developing ourselves in many different styles. Like we have ballads on the album, and some like pretty heavy rock songs, some slower tempo stuff, and even some acoustic tracks.
Who in the group has the most creative mind and why?
Well, it's kind of that's a tough question because everyone contributes. Like it's all pretty equal in our group. I think I don't know. I think that a lot of the stranger ideas usually they'll come from me or the other guitar player Tyler. But like Greg has a good way of sort of developing the vibe of a tune, and Steve's really practical when it comes to like, I think that's extra. I think we need to, do this in order to make the point more obvious. And so everyone kind of fills out their role a little bit, but I feel like I usually bring at least a little bit to the table creatively as far as taking the band in an interesting hook direction.
What first comes to mind when you hear these song titles? First one, Reason.
I don't know, it's inspiring. I think that song was really kind of cool for us. Like it came out as like a musy kind of tune, and it's different, and it's like sort of new age, and it's got some like interesting new sounds that we haven't played with before. And I think it's generally like an inspiring tune.
What about Last Thing?
Last Thing is one of my favorite songs. It's like I had that song for a long time, and then we started actually getting the band to work on it. So it's I'm pretty proud of that one. It's one of the cooler tracks I think on the record.
At the point that you're at, what do you find most challenging in music today?
Today, it's money. Like everything comes down to money, and like for us, we've always figured out a way to do things the way that major labels do things. It's just on our own budget. So I mean, as long as we can keep raising the marketing dollars, we can still do this as well as some of the biggest bands in the world who have that kind of thing going on. Maybe not in the world because we're not that rich, but as long as we can figure out ways to promote ourselves creatively and on a budget, then that's sort of the solution. But I think that's where a lot of bands like us, like independent bands that have some stuff going on, have trouble because it's a weird world now. Those record deals don't exist anymore that can make bands superstars overnight and stuff like that. Like bands really have to work for it. It's tough to get that kind of support.
What do you value most about the band?
I think what I like most about us is that we just have a pretty solid work ethic. Like we just haven't gone away. Like our big thing along the road has been always just sort of making friends and networking, and that's really helped us out. Like we've really come across some solid breaks just from being nice guys and being friendly and really dependable as like a live performance.
What would you say is the main goal of the band right now?
We just want to, make this our lives. We want to make, like it is our lives, but we want to be able to just, make our money off of this and continue to make great music. Our goal with this record is like get a top 10 single in Canada and just continue to grow our fan base and continue to not go away. I mean, that's, like I said, like that's been a huge thing for us. Like we have a lot of contacts all over the industry now, and people know who we are. We just have to show them that we're in it for the long haul. We want to be that next, Billy Talent or whatever.
When you began writing songs for the album, were there any predetermined themes that you wanted to cover, or did the lyrical and writing process more just fall into place naturally?
Well, it was the writing process was strange because we started the record before we replaced our singer, and so we had a lot of the basic songs like in place, but we hadn't written sort of the nuances that really made them stand out, and we hadn't figured out all of the little vocal things. So after I started being the singer of the band, we sort of got to have a second look at the songs, and it was kind of cool because it made us go back and really polish them to exactly where we needed them to be. So, I mean, it was pretty intentional, the writing, but it was good because it sort of fell into place even better when we had the chance to take a second look at it in the studio.
What are the biggest things that you learned about yourself during the creation of the album?
I think, just for me, sort of becoming an official singer has been the biggest learning curve personally. I think it's just because I had to figure out, before I was singing backup vocals and it was little bursts and of 100%, but learning how to conserve and endure and proper technique, and that was like the biggest thing I've learned. And I think sort of just going through this whole singer change and lineup change has really sort of helped us as a band learn how to stick together and do what we do best, and things will work out as long as you just keep doing what you're doing.
Did any of the songs surprise you by taking a different direction than you initially envisioned?
Yeah, Falling, the next single that we're going to release, that one turned out really great when the backup vocals came in. It was good, and we were like, there's something missing about it. But when we started doing the group sort of call and response thing, the song really came to life for us. And all the acoustic songs, actually, those were all songs from from previous records, except for one of them. And so we redid them, and a lot of them are pretty heavy tracks. So it was kind of interesting to see how they turned out as acoustic style.
What's your philosophy on music?
Philosophy on music, that's tough. I think for us, it's always been, write great songs, make a lot of friends, and be good at what you do. There's so many bands that, I don't know, I feel like it's just like politics. I think the smart people should run the world, and I think the best musicians should be in the successful bands. So there's a lot of bands I get frustrated with because they can't play their instruments, but, sometimes they're great songwriters, so that's okay too. But, yeah, I guess that's my philosophy. Be great at what you do, write great songs, and just have a positive attitude. There's so many bands that treat music like football, where it's so competitive, and it's just that's not what it's about. And especially in Canada, there's such a tight, everybody should sort of be supportive.